Got a log here from Serial Killers who is asking about excessive yaw noise. Let's have a look at your log. And we can see right here that the yaw gyro is in fact pretty noisy. Much noisier than the pitch and roll. If we go in here and we just separate them out. Hang on. Okay. If we just separate them out, we can really see the difference. As expected, roll is a little noisier than pitch, but yaw is crazy, and that's is that normal or abnormal? Well, I mean, we see it in a lot of different things. So what could be causing this? Let's take a look next at your yaw PID and see if there's any insight we can get there. We got no D term on the yaw. I think I know why that is. Yeah. All right, well, forget that. We'll leave that out for now. And boy, we can see a lot of P-term oscillation here. So really, normally I would say turn down the P-term. But if we go back to your post, you can see saying that you've reduced it already. The thing is, you say you're surprised by the default value causing problems, and you got to set that aside. You can't assume that the default values are, I mean, given that this is beta flight, the default values are probably better than some, but at the end of the day, lots of copters are different and circumstances are different, and who knows. So if the black box and the flight characteristics are clearly telling you that P needs to go down, don't let the fact that normally you have PB higher or that other people have PB higher really throw you off. Lower it until black box or the flight characteristics tell you that you've gone too far. Especially if you've got a case here where it increases drastically with throttle. That certainly feels like excessive P term, or P gain, rather. You've got crazy oscillations on the P term, and they're reflected in the gyro. It's a bit of a chicken and the egg problem here where it's a little uncertain as to which is causing which. Is there oscillation in the gyro that is then causing the P term to oscillate or vice versa? I am curious also, I don't see anything here that tells me the answer to this, but I would be curious to know what your D gain was. I'm not sure if you have no D trace in here because D is 0. I think probably not. Normally if D was 0, you would just see a flat line. So something has caused your D to not get logged. And I think I know what that is. There's an old bug, I'm surprised it hasn't been fixed, where black box, if you're running Lux float and your PID, your float PID gain for D is set, but you haven't set your integer PID gain for D, which when you use the GUI, it only sets the floats, I guess. But in that scenario, Blackbox doesn't log the D trace. So I'm not sure what your D is set to. It's possible that by raising D gain on yaw, you could tame this a little bit. But honestly, the first thing I would do is take yaw P gain down. Why? I don't know. But if you've got crazy oscillations like this, and especially if they're throttle sensitive, then reducing the P gain is the right thing to do until you get to a point where it starts to feel soft or maybe doesn't turn, in a coordinated and controllable way like you would want it to. The only other thing I can think of is a mechanical problem. But if you think about, like, for example, the nuts are loose on your flight controller, or possibly a bad gyro. I mean, if the gyro is damaged in some way, these little MEMS devices, they're physical devices, and they can get damaged. They're not like a transistor where it's relatively impervious to physical shock. So these little MEMS devices like the gyro and the accelerometer, they're small machines, electromechanical machines, and they can get damaged. So that's certainly a possibility, and it certainly would be consistent with it only being affecting one axis. The gyro could be damaged on just the yaw axis. It has three separate little sensors that sense on the three axes. So it's certainly very possible that only one of them could have been damaged. I mean, that's just that's a stretch, but it certainly is something that we need to consider. And if you're saying I'm having problems with noise on just one axis, you know, if it was the pitch or the roll axis, then if you think about like you've got a loose flight controller because the nut is loose, which way is it going to vibrate? Well, the yaw axis is really it might vibrate up and down, which would result in pitch and or roll vibrations, but it's probably not going to rotate or vibrate on the yaw axis, but not the pitch and roll axis. Seems less likely to me. So number one, I say reduce the P gain until it starts to feel soft, and then you know you've gone too far. And if that doesn't fix it, then start looking at mechanical things, I would think, is the only other thing I can think of. Certainly change your props. If you think about or maybe look for vibration on your motors. That's an easy thing to check because you can spin up your motors on the accelerometers. Look at the accelerometer traces on the motors tab, and you can see XYZ, which axis is having the most acceleration. It is often the case that motors produce more vibration on the yaw axis under some sets of circumstances. If you think about the motor is spinning, and if it is off balance, it's spinning, it's going to create acceleration on the yaw axis more so than on the pitch or roll axis. In reality, we often get vibrations on the frame, on the arms, that mean that there's other vibrations going on. So it's not just on the yaw axis, but it's plausible that an off-balance motor or a bent shaft could cause vibration on the yaw axis primarily. Certainly worth looking into. And I see you tweaking. Oh, I got your numbers here. You're as low as 1. Are you really as low as 1 here? I don't think you said that. You said you're at like 3.5 as the default. You tried lowering. Well, if this is legit and you're all the way down to 1. Oh, that's roll. That's roll. Never mind. Forget what I said. That's just roll. That's not yaw. That's nothing. You're tweaking roll here. That doesn't have anything to do with what I'm looking at. Never mind. Alrighty. Well, good luck and happy flying.